don't treat demos as a discovery call. That is a massively big issue in our industry.
Field marketers, event marketers has been treated as event planners.
Whether it's brand awareness, customer retention, prospecting, make sure you know what you want to get out of the event and set your goals in advance. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to succeed, right? Because you don't know what you're trying to do.
Real talk backed up with real action. This is GTM News Desk.
I'm Nick Bennett.
And I'm Mark Hillens.
Let's see what's trending. Welcome to today's edition of GTM News Desk. I'm Nick Bennett, and today we have our lead story. If you haven't been out there, Navattic released a brand new report called the B2B Buyer First Best Practices Report. And we're going to get into the good, the bad, the ugly, and some additional points. But Mark, I want to toss it over to you. What did you think about this?
Well, I first think Navattic ripped us off. I mean, people first, buyer first. Come on, Navattic. No, but just kidding aside, I love it. I love it. And the way they did this with Chili Piper, very smart. I think, first off, Nick, research-based content today is one of the top 3 types of content I'd recommend any company invest in. So kudos to them on doing a research report. I hope they do it every year. Secondly, Nick, I mean, the thing that I found most interesting is the disparity. There is a huge spectrum. Some companies are really leaning into this new way of matching how they go to market to how people buy, and others are far from it. So the grades I'd give some of these companies, Nick, range from an A+ to an F. How about you?
I think one of the biggest things is visibility, transparency in pricing. As a huge believer of the people first mindset and putting buyers first and people first, it's interesting that 68% of companies are displaying their prices openly. Now, I do remember when they released this report back in 2023, it actually was a lot less than that. So I guess one thing positive in this terrible economy that we're in is more companies are displaying their pricing. Now, why is that important? It's unnecessary back and forth. I can tell you as a buyer of technology, I have been on so many websites where it pisses you off that you go to their pricing page and it has that stupid little money symbol with like 1 money symbol, 2 money symbols, 3 money symbols, contact someone, and you have to sit on about 3 calls before you even get pricing. So transparency, huge believer of that. Glad to see that it's ticking up in the report.
I'd agree. I mean, there's pricing. There's some facts about gating content. That's a session or a story for another day, I should say. But overall, don't bait and switch buyers. That was one of my key takeaways as well. Like the whole report honed in on different ways you could design a buying experience that is transparent, it's helpful, it's easy, it's enjoyable. Ultimately, if your buying experience is memorable, you're doing something right, because your buying experience is a huge reflection of the brand. So for me, a lot of the stuff that was uncovered in this, and you folks should definitely go check it out. We'll have it in the show notes. Only 27% of companies are offering personalized content. And I think that's, Nick, because a lot of these vendors, and look, I worked at one point that was guilty of this, claim they could do personalization, but it's really shitty personalization. Let's be honest with each other. This is a bunch of crap typically, right? And hopefully AI unlocks it, Nick. And finally with Gen AI and LLMs and all the effing acronyms that are being thrown around, AI catches up. But the personalized content thing, I even think, Nick, really 20 whatever percent it was, I don't even buy that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I always wonder with these reports, how much of this is really inflated numbers. Now, knowing Navattic and knowing that they're good people, I want to put good faith in them that these numbers are legit. And they did do the work. But yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, I could slap these numbers on any of my reports too and say like, yeah, this is what I've come up with. It seems a little high to me. I could see a lot lower, but I think companies dictate, or not even dictate, say like what personalization means to them. Like it means a lot of different things to other people. And I think like it's a broad topic, personalized content, that if you dig in, peel the onions back of what it actually means, it can mean a lot of different things. So I think that's one of the important takeaways too.
That's true. That's true. And let's also not blame Navattic. It's ultimately at the end of the day, it's the people filling it out, and they might be stretching the truth or misunderstanding a question. But yeah, check out the report. Lots to unpack. We shared some of our big takeaways, some of the things you should and should not be doing. But at the end of the day, the most important thing before we move on to the second story for today, don't treat demos as a discovery call. That is a massively big issue in our industry. And people who are get a demo on the website and then getting someone on the phone and asking them a crap ton of crappy questions. What a bad experience. Don't do that. Let's go to the next story.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great recap.
So the second story for today, folks, I found this link, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. It was recently published. Andrew Chen, well-known blogger, well-known in the space that we're all participating in. And he has talked a lot about growth hacking in the past. Growth hacking, I remember my days at HubSpot, we talked a lot about growth hacking back in 2014, 15, 16, especially as we were spinning up the free CRM, the free sales tools, the freemium motion. And he just wrote this article, again, it will be in the show notes, about what's changed and what's new with growth hacking. 10 years later, right? Basically, it's been around, I guess, for about 10 years or so. Who knows if that's truly true, but sounds about right. And one of his big things is scarcity has replaced abundance, Nick. So there used to be a ton of abundance when it came to optimizing channels. Hey, there weren't many apps in an app marketplace. People were still downloading apps. People were interested in those types of things. There was white space in all these social networks, right? There was a lot more space to try, space to test. And the whole point of growth hacking is to use a scientific-based approach to understand your product market fit, understand a reliable, durable channel to generate the right types of leads, the right types of customers. And the fact of the matter is, the shit just doesn't work. That's at least what he's saying. I don't know. What do you think, Nick? Before I give you my spicy take, growth hacking.
Yeah, I mean,
what's your take?
It's interesting. I feel like growth hacking, it's funny. I hear people talk about growth hacking all the time, and it's like, I think it's a topic that people just kind of throw around interchangeably. That like, what does growth hacking actually mean? Now, I think the story was very interesting, and I do think that people aren't interested in trying new things, but they're also not believing. Or not even believing the data. There's ways to manipulate the data that makes growth hacking come across as something that's a lot better than it actually is. And I think it's just like, whether you call it growth hacking, whether you call it whatever you want to call it, I just think there's ways to think about the way that people try new things or are interested in new things. You have to focus on what matters to them versus trying to push hacks onto people.
Well, I mean, and quite frankly, Nick, you kind of look like a growth hacker right now, the way you're dressed. So I just got to call that out. Moving on, though, to what I think you need to do is like my tie. It's very original. You can see these whales on it. Super original tie. $20 down the street. You have to use originality in how you go to market today, right? Because like growth hacking is like, great headline, great hook, great little offer. I'm going to convert. Like, no. What Andrew's saying in the article as well, to your point, and what we kind of learned from the Navattic buyer first report is the importance of how we match the GTM motion to how people buy today. And he's calling out the fact that we spend a ton of time on social media, within video apps, within collaboration products. I mean, he has a sentence here. It's partly why creators, short form video, and shareable memes have become such an important growth driver for new startups today, even though sometimes the spikes are short. And they are short, right? Like it's the thing, a meme, right? But like the whole point of that is our attention spans, agree or disagree, they've gone down. They've been fragmented more and more because of so much digital crap coming at us. And to stand out, you got to be original. And just trying to optimize a channel using numbers and dollars probably is not the most efficient way to go anymore. And he's saying it's not so much about channels to growth hack and grow. It's about people as a way to growth hack and grow. And it's why I think, Nick, like the way we think about it is community-led growth is the tip of the spear. He's saying it without saying it in the article. The way you grow today is not so much product-led growth in the beginning, which is your very traditional kind of growth hacking mindset. But no, you're going to grow through a community-led growth approach.
100%. I mean, I'm a huge believer of that. It's like not only the importance of originality, but the importance of empathy, the importance of, just authenticity, I think are also there. It's like, I mean, look at people like, Mr. Beast, for example. Like, I mean, his videos are super original. Like, I mean, yeah, he has a lot of money, but like, it's so interesting to me. And I think that a lot of people today, again, because of like all the crap that's thrown our ways, like, they want the edutainment a little bit. Now, platforms like LinkedIn aren't really pushing that anymore. They did for a short time, but I think like the video side of that is still working really well. Memes work really well on other channels, but ultimately it's the community, it's the tribe that you build for yourself as like that tip of the spear.
Well, I mean, you don't need a lot of money though to do this. Do you?
No, you don't need a lot of money at all. I mean, honestly, as long as you can have, your own thoughts, like people have more to say than they think, and people can actually express themselves in a lot of different ways, whether it's through text, whether it's through memes, whether it's through video. And lots of times there's so many AI tools out there, or just tools in general that like can help you get to that point of hitting publish. And once you hit publish, that's the tipping point. And it's kind of becomes a somewhat of a dopamine hit once you hit publish, and once you realize what all of these extra things can do and how you can actually build community around it.
One word though that I hate that you used, Nick, I'm going to call it out, and call me out as much as you want. Feel free. Look, I'm wearing an effing whale tie that's like pink. What you should not do and listen to is like this word authenticity. Oh my God. Authenticity. The freaking A word, right? Like this word is making me sick to my stomach because number one, like what is authenticity, right? It's just being yourself.
Being yourself.
Be yourself. Like, look at me right now. Am I being myself? I don't know. You tell me in the reviews of this. But the whole point is, people throw that word around like it's God, and I actually don't think it's about authenticity. It's about being original, having a story, having something to say, and taking a stand. Right? Like, if you don't take a stand and don't have haters, you're doing it wrong. You need to have haters. I'm sure there are people that hate this show or will hate this show. I mean, this is show number 1. That's cool with us, right, Nick? We don't care. Let the haters come.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. I feel like does originality equal authenticity?
What does it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I don't think it does.
Well, if you're original, are you being authentic to yourself?
Well, what does authenticity really mean? That's like, is it authentic to yourself? Authentic for someone else? Like, are you is like, so let's throw the word like, hey, you're a liar, right? Like, you could be authentic, but you could still lie.
That's true.
Or esteem authentic, right?
That's a fair point. It's just, I like originality better than authentic, because I feel like that you can tweak what authentic is for each social platform out there, or how you talk to different people. But is that really who you are? I mean, I think it's some people will answer that very differently, but it's important to talk about.
And look, I brought back the tie for this whole show because I miss dressing up. I miss wearing ties, quite frankly. That's a true story. And so you'll see a lot of different ties coming your way during the shows. But let's move on to segment number 3, Nick. We have a very special conversation today with a very special person. You and I both know her very well. She is a powerhouse when it comes to all things events. What a career in events. I had the honor of having her be part of my team when I was at Drift. Her name is Bethany Murphy, and she's up next. All right, everyone. Story number 3 today, the amazing conversation with our very special guest, Bethany Murphy from 6sense. Bethany, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you guys?
Oh, we're fired up. Right, Nick?
Fired up. It's a big day. It's episode 1.
It's a big day.
No
it's a big day. I'll say this much. We brought you on, Bethany, because event season is coming up. Well, let me ask you this question. This is an off the script question. Bethany's like, oh shit, he's already asking me a question I'm not even prepared for. What are the event seasons in B2B in your mind? When are these seasons of events?
It's a good question because I used to think fall and spring, right? Like April, May, June, September, October. And now I'm like, there's B2B events in July and August. Like it's all year now. So obviously still pretty heavy spring and fall, but man, I don't know. They're creeping into all months.
It's painful. It's too many events in my opinion. I don't know. We can talk about it. You agree. You hate there's too many events?
Just a lot. It's a lot of events. I preferred when it was kind of like, again, I had 3 months and then I had a couple months to prepare for the next season. And now it's just constant.
That's how it was for me. It was always like spring and fall. It was like, all right, cool. You could take the winter and you could take the summer, cool it down a little bit, rethink things. But yeah, there's way too many events out there. Everyone just wants to make money, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, that's not a bad thing, Nick, is it?
And
I mean,
gotta make money.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's like, how many events is too many?
Ask yourself that, audience. How many events are too many? We'd love to know. How many events are you going to this year? I mean, I don't go to as many anymore because I got 3 rascals consuming my life, which is great. You know, every day's an event. But let's get to the questions. So, Bethany, I think we're going into a big event season. September, you got like Dreamforce, SaaStr, Inbound, Maycon, blah, 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 like 2,000 events in B2B, which is way too many, as we all know. How do you make an event not suck today?
Not sure I've ever been asked that specific question before. But, you know, what I do think is after COVID, attendees need compelling reasons to go to events, right? More than ever before. And for me, like events not sucking, like it really has to do with the attendee journey and the attendee experience and making sure that attendees are leaving feeling energized, feeling part of the brand, right? And that's hard to do. It just can't be like, I mean, again, there's so many events, right? And as an events person, I get invited to attend a ton of events. For me, it's like, if I just get invited to a dinner, like I'm probably not going to go, right? Like there has to be something more. And I think us as event professionals, like really need to think about that experience and make it impactful. Otherwise, people aren't going to come.
I love that. Before Nick asks you the next question, I want to double click on the dinner thing because I hate the dinners too. I'm sick of the dinners. The dinners are driving me effing insane. Like we had a segment just earlier before you came on about being original. Guess what? A dinner is not original because you fucking do it every day. You eat dinner every day. Seriously, can we come up with nothing better, Bethany? Like,
I agree.
Nick, what do you think? Before you ask the next question, dinners, you love them? I know you like to break bread. So like, I don't know. What do you think? You like the dinners?
No, the issue with dinners are you're stuck next to like one person or you're stuck like across from someone, but you can't really talk to anyone else. And it's like, I think the reason people do dinners is because that's the way it's always been done, which goes back to the originality piece that we talked about earlier. It's like, oh, well, you know, if it works, why fix it? If it's not broken, why fix it? Like, oh, dinners work. Like, cool, we're just going to do 20 dinners. I mean, I know lots of companies that still do dinners and they say it's one of their highest converting channels, but it's because they don't expand their mind to the experiences that people want today. Because why try something new? I mean, let's be honest. Everyone is so burnt out in tech these days because everyone's afraid they're going to lose their job tomorrow that it's like, oh, I'm not going to try anything crazy. Like, why risk, burning myself out or getting fired for trying something that doesn't work? I'm just going to do what works. I'm going to do the status quo. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we're fighting against today, too.
That is not how you win championships. So like everyone who has that mindset, change your mindset. We can move on.
Yeah. So let's go into the second question. So what is the most egregious mistake event marketers make today?
I really think that it comes down to event marketers not determining goals and KPIs at the onset of planning, right? Like this is essential, especially in this economy. We need to be able to prove the ROI of our events. And if we don't know what we're trying to achieve, this is really hard, right? And I say this all the time, like every event is different and your goals for each event and each type of event should also be different. Whether it's brand awareness, customer retention, prospecting, make sure you know what you want to get out of the event and set your goals in advance. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to succeed, right? Because you don't know what you're trying to do.
Goes back to the larger conversation of like, I feel like oftentimes, and I don't know, Bethany, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but it's happened to me, and it's happened more. I'm going to throw a shout out to the enterprise sales reps that are out there. But field marketers, event marketers has been treated as event planners. And I'm going to speak for me personally. Like, I've been treated as an event planner in the past because a sales rep says, oh, you're not in marketing. You're just an event planner. Go plan me this happy hour. Go plan me this. But like, the issue is there's so many silos in a lot of these companies, and it's like sales not talking to marketing, not talking to customer success, not talking to product. And I'm a huge believer of that there should be cross-functional KPIs and maybe to the point of even like revenue-facing marketers should be compensated similar to salespeople. I tried to champion this years ago, and people thought I was crazy that like...
I like where you're going with this.
Yeah, so you're saying that a field marketer or event marketer should be given accelerators, should be given kickers, just like a salesperson because you hosted an event? Well, one, you have the wrong mindset if that's the case, because events are a huge driver of channel in a lot of companies. And it's like, you need to have your seat at the table because you're doing just as much as a lot of these salespeople in driving source and influence pipelines. So
1,000%.
So a thought and a question to follow on to this, Bethany. The thought is, I'm going to throw a new term out for everyone. Everyone loves a new acronym for marketing. Let's just keep throwing new acronyms out. Nick and I are guilty of this. Let's just keep doing it. IEA. IEA. Any guesses what that could mean, Bethany?
No. Tell me.
Ideal. Go ahead, Nick.
No, I don't know. I was trying to think. I did think ideal is the first one, but then I kind of ideal event attendee?
Close. Ideal event audience. Ideal event audience.
I was going to say audience.
You win. So the goals and defining the ideal event audience. So now to the question, how specific should the KPIs be, Bethany?
I am really adamant that, again, every event is different and you're not trying to accomplish the same thing with each type of event, right? And so for our user conference is a good example, right? It's 95% customers. So we know exactly who we want there, right? For other events, it's more difficult, right? We sponsor a third-party event. We don't know exactly who's going to be there. We think it's our ICP, but we're not 100% sure. We can use 6sense, which we do, to try to target the right people. But what I would say is, like, I think it's super important. Again, like, I don't care if I get 1,000 people there if they're all the wrong people, right? I'd rather have 3 people that are the right people. And so I think that's really important. It's like not the butts in the seats. It's like the right butts in those seats.
AKA ideal event audience. So you're welcome, everyone, for that acronym. Let's move on to question number 3.
People are going to be mad at you for coming up with another acronym because there's already enough of them. They're going to be like, why is Mark creating another acronym that, people are going to be confused by?
I don't care. Send me mail. P.O. Box 913, Newburyport, Massachusetts, 01950. I don't care. Send the hate mail. Next question. What is the most common misconception that our lovely executives have about events? I'm an executive. I got a tie on. So bring me the heat, Bethany. What do I get wrong? Why am I stupid when it comes to events?
Look, I mean, again, events are a huge line item in the overall marketing budgets, right? And that's a fact. That's not a misconception. But what could be a misconception from a lot of executives is the lack of value that you can get from an event, right? And so going back to what Nick said about, we're not event planners, we're event marketers. It's on us to prove the ROI and the business value that comes from events. And that's sometimes lost on the executive team, right? So my team and I spend a lot of time post-event pulling together all the metrics, making a nice little deck that kind of ties in a bow, all of our KPIs, status against those KPIs, attendee feedback, data from on-site activities, right? The more data, the better. Again, it's on us to prove that the spend is worthwhile. And it's not for every event, right? I mean, it's not.
I like it. We got one more question that Nick's going to tee up. And then for everyone who's listening, head to the TAC Network, tacnetwork.com, for the exclusive part of this conversation with Bethany, where we get very very tactical. She's going to give you her exact playbook on how she does 600 6 Sense events a year. It's like 600, right, Bethany, at this point? Totally. All right, Nick, tee up the last question. Let's get the show on the road.
Absolutely. All right. So, we're huge believers of a people-first mindset. So what does a people-first event strategy look like?
This is kind of similar to what I talked about before, but it's prioritizing the attendee experience, right? Like it has to be something that people want from the content, from the experience. It's all about the attendees, and you have to make it that way, right? So we're very focused, and my team and I spend a lot of time figuring out what the journey of the attendees are from the second they step into the event through to the last session, right? We want them to know they're at a 6sense event. We want them to feel the love from our 6sense employees, right? And we do this in a variety of ways. I mean, I think it's creating amazing experiences, right? But it's having those touch points. Every account that attends Breakthrough has to have a meeting with their 6sense team on site, right? That helps with relationship building, helps us understand challenges of accounts. And really, like from an ROI perspective, gets us like in the forefront of having conversations about upsell, right? Which is also amazing. But it's all about that experience and making that, stand out and making people want to come back year over year. Because like Mark started, talking about at the beginning, there's so many events to choose from. And just doing like an okay event these days, like it's not going to get people there. And it's certainly not going to get people to come back year after year.
Treating events like a product. We'll dive into that in the exclusive content that's coming up next for TAC Network subscribers. I think that's a good point, Bethany. Like treating it like a product, right? That's good. I also think you said stuff around like internal marketing. Like how do you market the event both to executives, and that's a lot of the data side and telling that story with data, but then marketing it to the rest of the company to make sure they know what's going on. And I got to give kudos to 6sense. I mean, 6sense, you guys, it's really kudos to you. So thank you. Great job. You guys have some of the best events ever, and you get so much love about your events. You just did an event in London, I believe, and I saw LinkedIn blowing up about how great it was. So just huge kudos to you. Nick, you could learn some stuff from Bethany. I know you run our events. I mean, Nick, she could mentor you.
I'm always looking for mentorship, honestly. I feel like I've been out of the true like event game for a little bit. Not long, maybe a year or so. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I've been to lots of 6sense events personally. Breakthrough's one of my favorite, and it who knows? I'm gonna try to maybe get there this year, so we'll see.
Yes, Vegas.
We could do this live at Breakthrough. We could do this. GTM
We're gonna have a
News
podcast booth there. Come sponsor it. Love to have you.
We'll give you $1, Bethany. $1.
Plug. Shameless plug. Sorry. I sell sponsorship. Right. I gotta make some money.
Fine, fair enough. It is about the money. Remember, we said that at the beginning. All right, everyone. That concludes this show. See you on the next one. Thanks for joining us on this episode of GTM News Desk, presented by the TAC Network. To hear our full conversation with our guest today, head to the link in the show notes to subscribe to the TAC Network. Until next time, I'm Mark Killens.
And I'm Nick Bennett. Keep it people first, everybody.